Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. Today is December 7th, and it was 74 years ago today. Hard to believe that one of our closest friends these days we were not so friendly with Japan 74 years ago. Just to remind you of the announcement that the President of the United States made the next day. Here's a little clip from FDR.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
So as the United States and the world was getting the news about the attacks of Pearl Harbor back 74 years ago, we were trying to figure out. My mother remembers this day well. Well, she's no longer with us, but I remember her saying that she heard the news, didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was. So we've learned about this in history in our classes. The attack on Pearl Harbor, we were told, was a surprise military attack by the Imperial Japanese Navy against the United States Naval Base at Pearl Harbor. As you probably know, 2,403 Americans were killed, 70-something Japanese pilots, I think, died. 64 Japanese servicemen died. One sailor, Kazuo Sakamaki, was captured, it says here. And on the phone, somebody we rely on for a lot of information regarding the relationship between Japan and the United States, Yuki Oikawa. Is he in Japan right now, Robin?
Yes.
He's a political commentator and just a good friend of the show. Good morning, Yuki. How you doing?
Good morning, Larry and Robin.
Are you in Tokyo?
Florida.
Are you in Tokyo?
No, I'm in New York City now.
Oh, you're in New York right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how are you? How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. When you went to school in Japan, did your history lessons teach that day differently than our history lessons would teach it?
I think almost the same, because the Japanese education system on especially history was created by the U.S. occupied army. So we are educated. We learned that the Pearl Harbor attack was sneak attack.
Right. And do you differ from that? Do you think there's a story that we weren't told?
Mm-hmm, right. But before that, especially this morning, let me offer my deepest condolences to the souls of all Americans and Japanese who lost at Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And I think that we should consider why the war between U.S. and Japan happened. Looking at how close the relationship between U.S. and Japan has become today, I think that there must have been other options for us, because now we have many historical researches and evidences that the works of historians, including my organization, Happy Science, the evidences shows that the different view that is the Franklin Roosevelt, that clearly had known Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor before it's happened.
Now, some people will disagree with that. How do you know that for sure?
Okay, yeah. Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor has been criticized as the sneak attack. However, Japan had made the arrangements for formal declaration prior to the outbreak of war, but actual procedure was delayed about an hour, and FDR utilized this fact in his propaganda. But I would say this was Japan's big mistake. And on the other hand, the Roosevelt led Japan to launch a surprise attack and persuaded his people of need to go to war.
So okay, and was that to get into the war in Europe? Because I've never understood why that would make sense, that we would be attacked intentionally with the president knowing about it, and somehow
Right.
that would get us over to Europe when obviously this looked like Europe had nothing to do with this.
Right. So you're right. So those days, the Roosevelt already promised with the people not to go to the war. But and also, or the situation in those days in Japanese side before the war, Japan heavily dependent upon U.S. by importing the oil. The 80% of the oil Japan used those days came from U.S. The FDR tried to hold Japan down by not providing oil. So he had known that if U.S. did the oil sanctions on Japan, Japan would be forced to begin the war against U.S. It means FDR intentionally drove Japan to attack U.S. And why FDR did it? Because he had a promise with the Churchill, the Britain's prime minister.
Okay. Yuki, the history books that we learned from say that there were other attacks in the Pacific also from the Japanese. Philippines, Guam, Wake Islands, the British Empire in Malaya, Singapore, Hong Kong. They all had attacks. Troop landings in Kota Baru and others, all within a 7-hour period. Obviously not all American holdings. Was it all part of the same plan?
That's right, yeah. So this is a bit complicated situation. Even Japanese people didn't understand for many years after the war. But now, again, according to the recent the research, we realize that those days, the Japanese people and Japanese government had a strong belief that Japan has the mission to release the colony in Asian countries by European countries. So those days, Asian people were just slaves under the European control, and that's why Japan, as a part of Asian, Japan they want us to, change the ages. And that's why Japan began the war against European countries, not against Asian countries.
And in your notes, you say that Harry Dexter White worked for the U.S. Treasury Department, but then he was accused of spying for the Soviet Union. So he was instrumental in manipulating documents.
Robin, that is a very important aspect, the communism. So those days, communism was a developing aspect. And, already Soviet Union sent their agent to the even U.S. government, FDR administration, the Harry Dexter White. There was the clear evidence. The White was one of the agents, and he shared the secret information with the Soviet Union government, and also he manipulated the government and FDR's the policy, especially against Japan, because the Soviet Union, the hope that U.S. Japan should began war, and then the Soviet get devolved.
Wow, I'm so glad we're friends now. I wish we could.
hard.
I wish the whole world would be as friendly as we are with each other now. There's always somebody out there that wants to cause trouble. The Happiness Realization Party is who you usually refer us to, and I love that name, the Happiness Realization Party. Before we say goodbye, is there a book, and do you have a website?
Yes. Thank you. On this topic, Japan, we have many new books, and one of the new books, the truth about World War II. The truth about World War II became a new bestseller in Japan, and this book was written by Oikawa, the leader of the Happiness Realization Party. And this book has published in U.S. also as the English translation. If you visit Amazon.com and search the truth about World War II, you can find more information.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the air this day. 74 years later, we wouldn't have been able to speak to you 74 years ago. We would have been not friendly with each other, right?
So glad to call you our friend.
Plus, I wasn't even born, so I would have a hard time talking to you. Thank you for always being a friend of the show. All right, thank you, Yuki. We'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them.